started on drums, and back in the day, things were a bit not as graceful in church. Where if you weren't at a certain level, if you couldn't hold a beat, there was no grace. It's either you could hold it down or you couldn't, right? So yeah, I remember just being so like, I want to be a drummer, and they were just like, no, like go sit down. But I think it was just God's plan for me to eventually segue, because I think once I got tired of, I guess, being refused or whatever. Funny enough, my father had purchased an organ, not a Hammond, but I can't remember. I think it's called a low ray. It was one of those like, yes, exactly. And so that was actually purchased from my brother. And one day I was just like, oh, I had no drums at home. I'm tired of using my thigh as a hi hat and my book as a snare. And I just saw the organ there, and I was like, okay, well, and then it became, and then so it just obviously kept building from there. Yeah, so pretty much like that was probably around the age of maybe 6, 7, maybe no 6, 7, and then it's been history ever since then. I was just addicted to it. Like it was like forsake all homework and every friend. Like I'm coming home to practice type of thing. Yeah, so from there, again, I would just. Luckily, I had my father when he was alive. He was into like Walter Hawkins, Milton Brunson, Daryl Coley, Shirley Caesar. So like where others grew up on like Grace Trillas, I more so grew up on like the more so American side of things. And again, that was more so based on his upbringing, because back in Jamaica, as much as you expect that they sing all Jamaican songs, no, they're very diverse out there, right? So yeah, so because of that, and also my drive to want to get better, I just stuck at it, and here we are today, man. Here we are today.
Listen, that's amazing, brother. So just hearing from your story, like it's kind of a miracle that you're even sitting behind an organ right now. Like you started off as a drummer, kind of went all over the place, and now here you are, kind of landed. And so, listen, we've been hearing a lot of talking right now. I think why don't you just open up for something? You got the organ there. Let's get a nice view up for everybody to see kind of what's going on, and just open us up for us, and let's hear some organ. Thanks, everybody. All right, let's give a round of applause, man. Jeez. You took us like all over the place, man. You took us to church, you took us, down south, you took us like we're on a journey, man. That's awesome. So, listen, I'm sure there's some questions that are going to come up, but I was actually looking at the list and I saw there's so many questions. Some folks that were asking, yo, Germaine, like, how do I approach the organ? Some folks may not be coming from an actual organ standpoint. I know you mentioned in your journey, you actually learned how to, approach this from the standpoint of an organist. So maybe let's talk to our piano players or our keyboard players out there. What's the difference, would you say, between even knowing how to approach something like an organ versus, say, the keyboard? Because I know that's often one of the things that comes up is people might get confused or think what works or is effective on piano will also be effective on the organ. Is that also how it works, or break it down for us?
No, it's a matter of, sorry, I get the weirdest analogies. I look at it, a lot of times I refer to food, so don't mind me.
Okay.
I look at the organ as the cake, the foundation.
Okay.
Whereas once you have the padding, the keys kind of adds the sauce on top type of thing, right? So, for example, if I was playing organ,
Yep.
right? But like if I was like playing keys, I would probably doing a little bit more voicing, type of thing.
Okay.
I could do the same on organ, but
Right.
once you have the two together, the organ kind of pulls back and becomes that foundation in terms of padding, right?
Interesting.
It's almost like in relation to for all my keyboardists out there, on the motif, there's a specific pad called analog, right? So
Right.
you'll hear that a lot with while you're hearing the keys and the pad.
Right.
So that's kind of the same thing,
Gotcha,
but obviously
okay.
once it's separated, the two can kind of be their own separate entity. Because obviously, if you're playing the keys and the pad, whatever the keyboard's playing, that's what the pad is going to play at the same time.
Got
right?
you.
So yeah, I look at it as the organ lays down that foundation in terms of like just padding,
Right.
whereas the keyboardist can now add like a little razzle dazzle.
Got you.
Let me not say that. A little a little bit of sweetness, or the word's not coming to be. It just adds a flavor to what's already happening.
Got you.
So,
Okay, that's what's
yeah.
up. And I know we had that overhead shot up, so maybe you can get that back up on the screen, because I think, like, for a lot of piano players, again, I'm a guitar player, so even looking at the organ, I'm kind of like, what's going on here a little bit, right? So, like, when you look at the organ, what are those bars? Like, break that down, because, like, I notice even as you're playing, right, you're shifting and you're doing different kinds of things. So, break it down for us. Like, what are some of those things?
So for that, I don't have an in-depth look at it per se.
Got you.
I look at them as like you can get different pitches from them. So,
Okay.
For example, once I pull each one out, oh my god.
Ah.
All right.
Right.
So now when you create the organ formula in terms of drawbars, like for example, I'll just give a brief tutorial on that. So pretty much what you can do is start with your first brown,
Right.
then your first white, which is like, think about it if you were in a service and service is about to start, you're doing top music.
Got you.
Right? But then as a service builds.
And let's get this, because I know our viewers are going to want to see that. Perfect. Yeah, let's run that one more time just for folks to kind of see.
Right? So that I would probably start off a service like that.
And is there a number on that? Like, how are folks seeing
on
that?
this specific one, no. There are some
you.
organs that do have it. I find it's more so on like the B3s.
Okay.
Where they'll have an actual number on it, but unfortunately these are just blank.
Got you. Okay.
But you can pretty much look at them as maybe number 1 through 9.
Got you. Okay. Got you.
So you would start with 1 and 3.
Yep.
Then what you can do is build from there. Add maybe your 4th. Right?
Okay.
So that would be like step 2.
Right.
Step 3 would be if it's starting to build now. And again, this is also subject to the organist as well, right? Where like they may start this way, but then they may not build how I'm going to build next, right?
Right.
So the way I build is, this will be, again, step 1, step 2. Then from there, right, I'll add my second, to create a little bit more foundation, and then my white now just gives clarity, right? Because I notice, actually, it's funny enough, there's an organist that I know, I'll always, if the song is in the height of its, or at the peak,
right,
I'll notice that their drawbars are like in. So what you want to do is, and I'll get there, but pretty much call it this way. Your left side is the foundation, your right side gives you a bit more clarity. So it's almost like it builds from lows to highs.
Okay.
Right?
It's almost like an EQ. Is that kind of how to think of it?
Yes, pretty much.
Interesting.
Yeah, right? So, as I said, let's go back first step. I do my first and third. Then I'll add, sorry, it's kind of awkward. Then I'll add my 4th.
Right.
Right? And then if I feel like they're building, or I see that building, then I'll add my 2nd, and then my 9th.
Got you. Yeah.
Ooh. Right? And then from there, pretty much, like that's pretty much your, in terms of brightness, that's pretty much your foundation. I know people like Michael Burrell, instead of using the white, he'll use like the black instead. Right, so that's what I was saying. To a certain extent, it's all about preference.
Got you.
But honestly, this is pretty generic. So again, for me, we got step 1, step 2, step 3. Right. Then from there, I may add my 5th, depending on how I feel, or I may add my 6th. Right.
Got you.
Right.
Got you.
So now if it's building now, come on and give him glory. Oh, yeah. Oh. And then they get aggressive.
Right.
Oh, wow, I skipped a couple steps there. Let me go back. So we started here. Well, no, we left off there. Then I said you can either go your 3rd white, which is your 6th. And then from there, you can kind of use your discretion. Well, pretty much once you have these out, like, yeah, like you have to use it's one of those things you have to be in the moment, type of thing. But honestly, this is pretty much your building block in terms of getting to the first step of clarity.
Got you.
And then after that, I'll add accordingly.
Got you.
Based on the 5th or the 7th or the 8th type of thing.
Got you. That's what's up.
Yeah.
And hopefully that helps for folks that may be wondering. I'm noticing we have some keyboard players in the room, so I don't know if there's any.
All keyboard players.
Okay, that's interesting.
And organists.
Okay, that's what's up. And so I'm curious to know. I know we're gonna have some time later on for some more questions from the audience. But if there is anyone that had a question just on in terms of drawbar settings before we kind of move on and shift to some other things, was there anyone else that had a question about that?
For the first step, is there do you use the pedal with those first two, with the first and the 3rd?
Yes, I will. So yeah. So, but again, it depends on how I'm feeling. So, say if what I'll do is I'll start off with foot pedal and chords. But then say if Sister Marva she come up to pray, and she starts praying. What I might do is take my bass out, and then say for example they say, we're gonna have Sister Marva come up and do our opening prayer, and she might say, Heavenly Father, we come before you, right? So what I'll do is I'll switch my bass notes to my left hand, but while also playing notes in my left hand, other notes in my left hand, to still make fullness between my two hands. All right. So again, right. Then when she starts praying, right, and then I'll. Right. I just build from there. All right. Gotcha. I know you got all those chords, so yeah. No, I'm just joking. Yeah. Did you have another question as well?
That just provides some clarity, because I noticed sometimes you're, in my experience, you're trying to do chords in your left hand, but it's so muggy because that bass drawbar is there. So it just provides some clarity.
Yes. Yeah, because especially if it's soft. Again, as you said, that bass makes it a bit too heavy, so I try to incorporate the bass into my left hand so it's not as harsh type of thing. So,
that's interesting. Yeah. Awesome. Another question. Perfect.
So one thing I've been kind of realizing as I'm learning, so, the 61 keys on each manual, but what I'm trying to have a better grasp of is how do you know kind of where to sit for certain settings? Because I know, for instance, like if you're playing all out, bottom octave is pretty much you can't touch it, right? So when do you know kind of like where you need to be in there? Is it kind of just like practice and you kind of feel it out? I'm just wondering, because I know like depending on what the drawbar is, you can go lower or higher.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering what that looks like.
Okay. For that, again, it really depends on the moment. But no, I try not to spend too much time down there because, as you said, especially when you have the brown and the white out, it's like, right? There's actually no point of being down there. Right. Which is, you brought up a good point. So actually, I should have addressed that as well. So if we were to break it down and look at it from a different perspective, even in terms of drawbars, and I'm going to go back to your question. You can get the same sound, so the same sound that the first brown and the first white make, you can also get the same sound with the two whites out. What happens though is the octaves shifts down, right? So for example, right, that's the first, that's your octave being upwards.
Right.
But now if I shift it, now it changes. Now that same octave that I played is down here, right? Okay. So pretty much, in essence, you can get the same settings using the first white as your brown moving forward, right? But you never want to play it with the frame of mind that you're using the whites and being in that same position. Because if you pull out the browns, because once you pull out those browns, your octave automatically changes, right? Okay, so again, I'll give a few examples. So again, we said that one again will be the same as this, right? And then this. See how I pulled this on? This was first step. The first step. This was the second step. So now this is in relation to this, right? So the only thing is, and pretty much I build the same way. So what I would do is my black becomes my second brown.
Gotcha.
So it's almost like the same formation.
Right.
Right. So again, first step, octave down. Second step. Second step, octave down. Okay. Right. Then our third step was this. Okay. Right. Right. And then the third step, if you're going octave down, would be, so it looks pretty much the same, but you don't have as much options, right? Okay. But it's okay because you'll still get a certain sound. Only thing though, depending on what and again, it's all about preference, because I find that a lot of guys, like say in like maybe the Midwest, they'll use this setting. Right? There's like guys like Rudolph Stanfield, I believe he's out of Detroit. He likes playing that sound. Even if you listen to a lot of like old Thomas Whitfield,
Right.
you'll hear a lot of that thinner sounding organ. I believe Twinkie Clark as well, again, from the Midwest, she'll do the same thing.
Right.
So as I said earlier, it really depends, or you have to use your discretion in terms of how low you want to go, because obviously you don't want it to sound muffled.
Right.
So for me,
that's a sweet spot right there.
and if I do go low, I try not to play too much notes, because obviously the more notes, the more cloudy it's gonna sound, right? So.
Got you.
And then I might. So if you notice, as I moved, actually, let me slow that down.
Yeah, break
so
it
as
down.
I moved, if you notice, I started adding more notes, because again, I was moving more back into the safe area.
Gotcha,
Right. So
okay.
so. Right. So I did a. Whoops. Sorry. Right. So once I get back into that safe zone, that's where I started adding a bit more notes. So
Got you.
hopefully I was able to answer that question for you. Cool.
Is that really helpful? Awesome. Thank you, Oscar. That's great. And so we're just going to kind of move on. Actually, G, why don't you, I know you just demonstrated it sort of, in an explanation kind of way. Why don't you show us just kind of, I don't know, take a song, any song, and show us that build that you mentioned, like going from that low intensity, kind of starting in one area of the organ and then building as you go along.
Okay.
Just so we can see it in context.
Okay. So we treat it as this, say they just finished prayer and the praise and worship leader or maybe moderator just started the song. So, blessed be the name of the Lord. Oh, I wouldn't be, actually, I want to ask my friend, can you sing for me? Is that possible? It makes it easier for me, because if I play and sing, I'm going to be like moving a little bit too drastic. Yes, he's a singer, everybody. Yeah. All right. So, ready.
Blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be the name.
No,
I don't know. I don't remember.
He is worthy
And
let's do-
adored.
Yep.
So we lift our hands in one accord, singing, blessed be the name. Oh, blessed be the name. Oh, blessed be the name of the Lord.
Give me a little bit more.
Oh, blessed be the name of the Lord. He is worthy to be blessed,
To be praised.
to be praised and adored. So we lift our hands in one accord, singing, blessed be the name, blessed be the name, blessed be the name of the Lord.
All right. So then after that, now we bring it down the same way. All right. So I'll be up here, and then he see when he does his last of the Lord, and I'll bring it down. All right. So I'll pretty much the way I built, I bring it down the same way I went. So, for example, depending on how, but it depends on the moment though, because if it's a drastic drop, then I'll quickly have to get rid of these type of thing. All right. Thank you very much for that. I know it wasn't planned, but thank you.
No, it was not.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Forgive me, people on the live stream.
No, it's okay. It's okay. No worries. No worries. No worries. All right.
Great job.
So yeah,
man.
so that's pretty
Sounded
much how we
awesome.
build there.
Awesome. And again, just in context, so folks can kind of see. I noticed a couple things, Germaine. So first of all, you did a thing. Like I saw you really listened to where the singer was going, and I saw you really following. So you weren't really actually playing much. It's almost like he was leading, and you were literally following right behind. So just talk about that in terms of an approach, because I think that's really important as well.
Yes, actually, I was gonna stop him in the midst, but he was sounding so great, so I didn't want to stop him. But so yeah, so how to explain this? Because there was a specific spot that it hit me. It was like, man, I wish I could address that at the moment. So my mentality is always whether it's a full band or one piece or whatever, you're always an accompaniment to the singer. So they are the captain of the ship. So this guy's I'm the captain now. So no matter what, I don't care how great you are, they are always the captain. Right. So if because again, he could switch things up at any moment, but so if I assume that he's going somewhere, then I'm now totally out of sync of where he's at, right? So for example, he could be like, "Blessed be the name of the Lord. He is worthy to be praised." Right. He could do all that. Right. But then I would have been able. So say now if I rush to the next part, right? So see, if he did that pray, right? I'm not the next chord, but he's still on the sixth, the minor, there, right? So I always make sure I wait for them. Right. All right. Can we try another song? Is that okay? A song that you know, that you're comfortable with. I just want to give another example. Could be anything. Maybe a hymn or something.
Give me a song.
Amazing Grace.
Sure. Once again, forgive me on the live stream.
It's okay. It's okay. This is not planned, but he's doing a great job.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
I was ready.
Curveball there.
Yeah. It's like, you want to go minor? Okay, let's go. All right. So again, if you noticed, again, I let him take the lead. Right. Sometimes it makes it easier even when you just stop, because there was a point where you did a run and I think you did Amazing Grace, how sweet. I went sorry. Right. So I'll play the melody after the fact, right? Especially because there's so much space, so I don't have to follow him every single moment. Right, I can give him space to breathe, and especially depending on how skilled of a singer he is, he may, have in this case, he has an ear, right? So he hears chords as he's singing. So I didn't do it as clean as him, but he hears the chords. So what I do is in those moments I pull back, so that can be, because again I don't know when he's gonna land it. So I'd rather get it out the way, and then if he says, right, then I'll just hit the chord and then move, right? So, yeah, space, and again, as I said, they are the captain, so just let them lead, and yeah. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much, y'all. Thank you so much, y'all. I hope y'all are getting something from this. I know even for me looking on, I'm gonna pull out one day and just sit down with this, man.
Let's
And
go.
let's do it. So, listen, G, a question that had come up, and maybe you can kind of speak to this. So, I know we're talking a lot about the organ and how to approach it, especially like when we're, fall in a band setting, maybe playing with another a singer or in the context of a band or even by yourself. But one of the questions that came up was stylistic approaches. So I know a lot of your foundation, obviously gospel, but like looking at, different genres, this was a question that had come up. Do you find that the change, like the sound of the organ or the approach of the organ changes stylistically as you're moving towards different genres? I don't know if that's that's a question that had come up. So
most definitely. I mean, you're not going to bring Jamaican food to an Italian person's house, right? So definitely. Because for example, if I'm playing churchy music, my one is probably going to be, or definitely going to be, right? But then like if I'm playing like Here I Am to Worship, I'm not playing that chord. I'm just going to play a regular. Here I am to worship.
Right.
That's it. So definitely.
And so like one of the specific examples that they were asking was like gospel versus an R&B approach. That was like the question.
It depends though. Because it can be intertwined, to be honest. Because there's a lot of chords that may be used in gospel depending on the artist and what section of gospel they are in. Like for example, you could hear a chord from a Ricky Dillard song in who else is out there? Any R&B artist's song, like whether it be Jasmine Sullivan or one of them out there, right? So it can be interchangeable. However, I find that you have to have more discipline when it comes to the R&B side because it's more. There's more consistency, whereas with gospel you can kind of get away with like adding a little extra flair in there.
Right.
But with one thing I've noticed with like secular music, it's like if it's it just stays that right. It doesn't move, right? But in gospel. Right? Right. That's how I look at it.
Got you. No, I think that I saw a lot of head nods in the room. Everybody understand.
Yes, sir.
That's really good. That's great. And so another question that had kind of come up as well. So we talked about, so far we've covered drawbar settings. So far we've covered some of the different stylistic approaches. Now, what would you say are those elements that separate maybe like what you would consider maybe a beginner to an intermediate level kind of organ approach versus someone that's more advanced like yourself? Like what is it, the chord voicings? Is it choice? Is it placement? Like talk to us a little bit about that.
Honestly, that's a whole bunch, but I think one thing that separates those two individuals is their left hand.
Okay.
Their left hand carries. Wow. No, that's not a dagger to anybody in this room or online. The left hand, because the left hand, it adds, it gives the fullness.
Okay.
Right. And again, you can still have the same approach on keys in terms of your choice of notes, but especially on organ, like that left hand has to be there. I remember when I was younger. One of my organ mentors, only organ mentor, his name is Cordell Hay. I would be playing like bass in my left hand, and he'd be like, "Yo, play some chords."
Okay,
literally. So from that point, it was just. But it depends, because some people always think that you have to add a whole bunch. No, it depends on what's going on in your right hand. So that you may only end up adding one note in your left hand.
Okay.
Maybe two notes in your left hand.
Interesting.
Right?
Okay.
So again, it's just like, because you have such a wide, I guess, surface to play with.
Right.
You don't have to end up repeating the same chord twice. Right. So what you're doing is you're adding different elements across that spread. Right. So instead of me playing this, right, and then. And instead of me playing,
okay.
Right? So So it's just a matter of taking different ingredients. Again, I love food. To create a great meal.
Got you. Got you.
Right?
Does that kind of make sense for folks? Are we getting it? And so you talked a little bit about like the left hand being the separation. So what would you say are common approaches for the left hand? Like, is it mostly tritones? Is it? I know context obviously matters, but just talk to us. Like, how, if I'm, I really want to improve, I want to get to that next level. What can I work on? Should I mirror my right hand? Like, where do I go?
I would say to start off, mirror your right hand, because you're not going to know what to do in the beginning.
Okay.
I think it's also a matter of you are what you eat. Sorry, I've got another food reference. What I mean by that is the music that you listen to, and also now being intentional. So, for example, for me, I know one of the first albums that I ever really took a hold of and learned from scratch, like top to bottom, was James Hall's "God Is in Control" album.
Okay, right.
So I would literally sit there, and keep in mind, not to age myself, but back in the day, we didn't have any phones. It was literally I had a little CD boombox thing, and didn't hear it. So like I would literally do that for hours. Like I was so determined. Like no. I got the most of it, but no, there's one note that I'm missing, right? So I think through that, though, and again, this is just my experience, through that, it helped to allow my ears to become sensitive because of the repetition of hearing something over and over. Gotcha. Now, by the time I've listened to it or rewound that specific part in the song 50 times, 60 times maybe, now my ear's like, okay, I can hear it now. That may not be the case for everybody, because we all learn at different paces. But I think just if you're determined enough and you listen to it enough, after the repetition, your ears will become very, very sensitive to hearing the different parts. Right?
No, that's what's up.
Yeah.
No, thank you. So again, I hope this is helping. Let's hear some more organ, man. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. What can we do here? I thought we were doing one at the end, but it's okay. Such is life. You weren't prepared. I'm not prepared for this. Wasn't planned, but it's okay. Yeah, it's all good, man. I like that. Okay, let's do this.
amazing, man. Sounding incredible. Awesome. And so I you know what? As I was in there just listening to you play, Germaine, and hearing and actually seeing, one of the things that really came to my mind is we haven't talked about it yet, surprisingly. Not enough, at least. The foot pedal.
Oh, yes.
The foot pedal. There was a lot going on there. You know, a lot of movement, a lot of... First of all, how do you multitask that many things? Because, like, it's like you're playing melody with your right hand. You're, like, chording with your left. You know what bait... Like, is that even possible for, like, mere humans like us? Like, talk to us.
Mere
like,
humans, what am I?
Let's say non-organ or organ aspiring people.
I get it.
Right?
Honestly, it's time, man. It's not easy. But yeah, it's just like anything else. Once you spend time with something, and that's one thing I realized. And actually, I was actually talking to one of the young musicians the other day about this. He was asking him, like, you know, how to get better, and you know, do I work on certain scales? And you can learn scales and different chords, and or if you're a bass player, you can learn different runs, or guitar player, the same thing.
Right.
But I think it's the time spent with the instrument. It's almost like you have a friend or a girlfriend, a boyfriend, a spouse. In order to understand them, you have to spend time with them to understand them, so that you know how to relate to them, type of thing. So again, for me, because that's the thing, like, you can be I've seen it. You can be an awesome keyboard player, but not be a great organist. I've seen it. Right. So it leads back to my same point. If you don't spend time with the organ in terms of just understanding how to approach it, because it's all about, again, your choice of chords, dynamics, like, because your choice of chords, dynamics, like when to pull out what drawbar, when to pull out, when to not use your bass pedals, or you also have these things called vibrato, which is in relation to, like, singing, where, like, you have and then right.
Can we hear that on the organ, just
no
as an example?
Yeah. So for example, this is it. This is the organ without it. Right? But then it's like, if it's a song where it's more aggressive, like, it's not even just church music, it could be like even rock music as well. If it gets more aggressive, right? So it's not as in your face. It's great. Right?
Got you.
So yeah, so again, it's different elements to it that allow you to really play it authentically.
Gotcha.
And as I said, the more time you spend with it, the more it becomes natural. But also, as I said earlier, you are what you eat. So the more you listen to it to try and get an understanding, because I look at it as you have to embody the sound.
Right. Okay.
If you don't embody the sound, you're just kind of imitating. But it has to become a part of you in order for you to truly play the instrument how it's supposed to be played.
And does that happen just through listening more than anything else, like studying certain organists, or like how does one approach that?
I mean, honestly, it can definitely happen through just listening.
Okay.
But of course, there's, like, you doing your homework, trying to break down, okay, what's happening here, because there still has to be a level of understanding to it.
Right.
But at the same time, as much as you can break down the chords, there could be a certain way the organist holds the chords, or way he may trill into a note that makes it sound sweet. So those little things, right?
Got you.
So yeah, as I said, once you become one with the sound, it becomes one with you. That's how I would look at it.
Finger snaps for that, man. That's right there.
Yeah.
We got some gems.
You heard it here first. Yeah. Go ahead.
You already know. And so, G, talk to us, because there's a couple things that you mentioned, right? Like, I think one technique, I don't know if you touched on it as specifically, but I noticed that you have no sustain pedal, right? And obviously, as organists, you guys don't have any sustain pedal. So what does that mean, like, as an organ player? Because basically, without the sustain pedal, you're always having to crawl or move or create interest, right? And even as you're moving from one chord to another. So talk a little bit about that, and maybe incorporate that previous question on how, while moving between those chords, you're now incorporating the bass and adding another layer.
Well, I would say not having a sustain and also or playing organ, I think it's easier because I find that
Okay.
depending on whatever situation you're in, I find that say if you're like in a say a worship situation where it's just like cymbals and hitting shots.
Right.
As a keyboardist, I'm constantly going like this. Like even from Sunday, my hands are still kind of hurting me because I was playing keys, right? Whereas organ,
Right.
I'm literally just right. So when they do 6-5-4, right?
Okay.
Notice I'm not doing anything.
Right.
If I was playing on keys, I'd be like, right? So yeah, I would definitely say it's a bit easier. But of course, don't get me wrong. If you're passionate about it and you're playing organ, you end up pressing hard on those keys consistently.
Okay.
You feel it after a while, but it's not as bad on the organ.
Right.
But again, where the pedals are concerned, just take it step by step. So what you could do is, so just do walk up exercises. Right, if I'll slow it down again. So I'm in C, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right, but it changes now if I change the key, where it's like you do this heel and toe type of thing.
Okay.
Right? So if I'm in C sharp, I'll start with toe, right? So toe, heel,
Okay.
and then toe, heel,
Okay.
toe. And it's only because of how the black keys sit, because they're elevated, so it's easier to just go toe. But now when you move up, naturally your foot's kind of elevated, so now when you drop, now we go to the F because it's lower, your heel's naturally gonna drop
come
there.
down.
Opposed to
Got you.
you could do that, but it's more work,
Got
right?
you.
So again, what's the term? Work smart but not hard.
Got
So,
you.
Yeah,
Got
that's how
you.
I look at it.
That's really cool. And again, I hope this is helping. I know some keyboard players are in the room. But right before we turn it over to some other questions that may be in the room, just had one other thing I wanted to talk about. So I know with the drawbar settings, you talked a lot about drawbar settings from the standpoint of chords. But what about with the bass, right? Because doesn't the bass have its own unique?
It does.
So
actually.
talk to us about that. And like, what settings should you have it on? Does it matter? All of that.
Truthfully, the bass setting for the foot pedals is not as complicated. It's literally just one.
Okay.
You do have two. Well, you have two, but the thing is, with the second one, it gives you. It's almost like it's two in your face.
Okay.
So it's almost like you have a bit more mids. Whereas if you're playing bass, you're going to want a bit more low. So for example, this is how it sounds without. Actually, I'll play so you always want to use the first of the two.
Okay.
Not the second, because the second's going to give you a weird sound. So this is what the second sounds like. And I think that the reason why that is it's an octave up or octave higher, right?
Okay.
So now when you add it together, it's like you just have this annoying upper or higher octave that we don't need.
Okay.
Right? So imagine me now playing, say if I was playing top music with that, right? Let's say it's two in your face, right? Now take it out.
Right. Subtle.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Right? So
Gotcha.
yeah, that was not as complicated as when you're playing the chords with the full 9 set of drawbars. So again, number one is what you always want to go with. And again, you'll find it set aside by itself between you have your top presets, so 1, 2, and then your bottom presets, 1, 2 here. It's always going to be in the middle of those presets.
Got you. And again, I know this is helping someone out there, and so this is really great. The other question I had is kind of related to that as well, right? I know you're talking about different drawbar settings. So talk to us about this. If we have say certain chord voicings, like does that matter as much with the drawbars? Would you say, or does it more so depend on perhaps genre or style? And the reason why I ask is because again, like for someone, I'm thinking about piano players. I'm thinking about if they have, a certain like chord structure. You were talking about that. Like they might be used to playing these big spread out chords, and now you're coming over to the organ where everything is more closer and has to kind of work together. So talk to me a little bit on that. If you can tie in again chords with like more chord voicings more than anything else, like getting those color notes, but then also how that ties in with the drawbar settings, if at all.
Well, again, that depends on the dynamics that you're working with at the time, because you could be playing a particular song where, say, the chorus is soft, right? That could be the first chorus. So now let's say this now goes into a verse, right? So then say now there's a transition where it builds, right? So now by that point, let's say if I make up a verse. Let me build right here. Then it might build even more. Then it might. Right? So, again, it depends on the dynamics of the song in terms of where you're
amazing.
At. That's amazing.
I feel like organ, and correct me if I'm wrong, organ might be the most dynamic instrument in the sense that you can, because you took us from like really way down somber low all the way up to like roaring and growling like only an organ can do.
Yeah.
So talk to us about dynamics and the importance of that.
Well, of course, I look at it as dynamics help to build the story, right? You're depending on the type of song that you're trying to compose, though, right? Because you could have a song like I'm not sure where this is coming to me. Where I think I said that. I think I sounded that wrong. But anyways, you get the point. It comes straight out the gate from the beginning, right? Whereas you can have like maybe other type of rock songs who again start a little bit softer, right? Like for example, there's one of my favorite groups, Toto. They do rock, but then there's a song called Africa that they do where it's a bit more laid back. It's like opposed to it being right in your face. It's like I haven't played this in a while, so please don't judge me. Oh, sorry. Right. So it's like it doesn't start straight out the gate. It's like I'm not even sure if there's an actual piano in the beginning. It's more so like a pad. Right. Okay. So again, it depends on the song.
Right.
And how it's composed. So.
Okay. No, that's really good. A couple things, and we're gonna turn it right over to the audience because I know they're gonna have some questions. Maybe some folks online as well. Quickly, the Leslie. Talk to us about switching Leslie from again. Because you got to break it down. I know that is it called the tremolo? Is that what it's called? Or
tremolo or chorale? But most people just call it slow or fast.
Right, slow or fast. So talk to us about that, and maybe let us hear it too, so we can also understand it more.
I think honestly, it's based on expression. Okay. So if you want, at a time, I'll play that same groove I was playing before. So for me, it's like, if you notice,
Right.
The first half and the second half are slightly different. So when I got to that flat 7 in C sharp, that's where I flipped it. So I'll start soft, or well, slow rather. Then I go back to the top. I'll go slow. So it's kind of like you base it on, I guess, transition, but at the same time it's also based on feeling.
Gotta be tasteful, right?
Yeah.
You know what? I can actually really relate to this. On guitar, we have a thing called the tremolo bar.
Yeah, the whammy.
Yeah, the whammy bar. That's what it's known as well. And
Exactly.
like, you know, the idea is it can be very tasteful, but sometimes it can be overdone at the same time. So it's kind of one of those things.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I hope we're all getting something from this. You know what? We are going to, right before we get Germaine to kind of play us out, I know there's going to be some questions. Germaine, you've done a great job just answering all the questions I had sort of prepared. But I know there's some folks in the room. There may be some folks as well online, I know, that may have questions. And so we just want to give them an opportunity to ask those questions. And then, of course, we'll hear you play some more, man, and call it a day. Awesome. So just turning it over to the audience here. I don't know did anyone else have a question? Awesome.
All right. So my question is, how do you place yourself in a particular situation? So how do you know where to move? So for example, I'll use church. When a preacher's out there, or who's ever singing, how do you know when to move appropriately? Because sometimes you might, let's say you're playing organ and you go in too quick, or how do you know when to move and where to go and just place your chords properly or place your moments properly?
Can you give me a more in-depth example? Because there's so many ways I can approach that or answer that.
At a high moment in church. So how do you place it so that the expression of what you're bringing to tell the story comes out correctly?
I mean, it kind of comes back down to what I was talking about before, dynamics. So you listen to their voice in terms of if they're pushing, then you push with them. Because again, what's the golden word tonight? The singer is? Okay. So if the captain is in the rafters, then you stay in the rafters. But you have to be very mindful because the captain can go from here to here super quick. So what I do is, and it's a me thing, and it's something that I learned from my upbringing with Cordell Hay. Be very attentive. Read the room as well, right? Because again, as I said, the preacher or even someone who's moderating or leading worship, they can go from here to here super quick. So if you're not paying enough attention, you can miss that moment, right? And then it's like now at that point you become out of sync. Now, depending on how long you were holding that rafters chord, and they've come down, it determines how awkward or obvious it is, right? So what I mentally do is whenever I'm going into, I'll say if a gig or a service, I go into a tunnel vision. You could be in the crowd and I don't even know you're there, because my focus should be right there, right? However, I try to balance that out with, like, it could be a moment where the song is doing well, the song is finished, but then if you read the room, the song's still ministering to the people, right? But then you have to find a balance between, okay, it's still ministering to the people, but then the pastor could be ready to move on, or the leader could be ready to move on. So you kind of have to read him, but also read the room at the same time, all right? Yeah, because it could be something where, like, say if you're doing preacher chords, he could be up in the rafters, come on, give you 3, 4, whatever, and he might give you the hand, right? So if I'm not paying attention, again, being attentive, I can miss that moment. So again, as I said, I'm literally like this, all service, right? I don't miss a beat because, again, I don't want to, again, I'm there to help lift and create an atmosphere. So if I'm not locked in to every moment, then it may take away, right? I'll use this as an example. I've seen it many times where, for example, a preacher wants shout music, and it could be one of two things. He gives the cue, and then the keyboardist doesn't have his track queued up, and then now we're waiting for you, and then by the time you're ready, the moment's gone, right? Or again, you miss the cue, and by the time you should have started, again, the moment's gone. So again, it's just a matter of, again, putting yourself in a frame of mind that it's like you're watching a movie in a sense. You don't want to miss a thing because this piece right here in the first scene connects to the next piece. And if you miss the first scene, then you won't understand what happened in the next scene, all right? So that's kind of how I look at it.
Amazing, amazing. I know there's also some folks that are joining online. If you do have a question, please feel free to drop it in the group chat or unmute yourself. Say hello. We should be able to hear you from where we are as well. But yeah, let's hear if there's any questions online. Just want to give you all a moment as well.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, loud and clear. We'll probably bring that down a bit.
Yeah, I'm getting a little feedback. You were talking about like communicating with your hands and stuff like that. Can you talk a little bit about that? I know there's like structural stuff like chorus, bridge, etc. And like also you can communicate chords. Like
Yeah. It depends on the situation, but I try to create a balance between the band watching me, but them also watching the leader, because the leader won't always be timely with their cues. So it may not, you know what them ones. So I may not have enough time to catch that. But even if I don't have enough time, I'll quickly be like, do. All right. I mean, I might be on a level of anxiety at that point, but I get over it after 2 seconds. But yeah, no. Like for me, and again, it depends if you're in a situation where you have a talkback mic, or you don't, right? So for me, what I'll try and do is, I'll use signals like this. I'm not sure if you can see me.
Yeah, they can.
You can see you? Okay, so
They got you right there. They got you right there.
Oh, okay, because I'm seeing that angle there. So yeah, I'll use cues like that, or I'll say, let's go out or go back. Because it depends on how the song is structured. Because you could have a song where it goes verse, chorus, bridge straight to the vamp, or it could go bridge back to the chorus, then to the vamp, right? So it depends on the format of the or the structure of the song. But what I do is I always try to think ahead, but never assume, because again, depending on the type of singer that you're working with, they may want to loop the bridge. So you may have practiced it at band rehearsal in the week 4 times, and they may want to go 8, right? So I always go with the mindset that anything can happen. So I literally mentally sit on the edge of my seat to expect the unexpected type of thing. So I hope I was able to make that clear for you.
yeah, so you're talking kind of about your position as an MP.
Yes.
Whoever's doing it.
Yeah.
And then, like you're saying, if it's still ministering to people,
Yeah.
and then keep it going.
Yeah. Exactly.
And what's like this?
Oh, okay. So this usually means we're switching to the next part of the song. So for example, if we're in the verse and we know that, okay, we usually sing the verse maybe twice, what I'll do is this. Yeah, pre-chorus or straight to the chorus. But technically, it usually works out that the praise and worship leader would give that signal. But if they don't, I'll do it just to reinforce, because I don't like being embarrassed. Because it happens. Because I've been in that position where like you have, oh my gosh, I'm getting traumatized. You have certain like praise and worship leaders who give no signals, so you almost become the praise and worship leader or the lead singer, right? Unless you're in an environment where the music is structured, where it's to a stem track, so you know that no matter what, this is where we're going, right? But if you're in a moment, if you're in or if you're playing a song where there's no specific structure, well, there is structure, but there's room for that structure to change, and that person's not giving signals, I mentally prepare myself that, okay, so-and-so is not going to give signals. So I got to be the band's praise and worship leader in terms of giving signals, right? So again, this means switching to the next part. This would mean, say if I'm going from, we've gone to the bridge, but then we go back to the chorus. You can do that. Some people have different signs for like breaking the music and just drums. Some people will do like the X. Some people will do the fist, but sometimes the fist can mean end the song. Or some people will just call it out. Just give me the drums, that type of thing, right? So yeah, that's how I look at it.
Awesome. And just quickly break down the numbers, because I know he also asked about that.
Oh, yes. Numbers.
Just from a signaling standpoint, right?
Signaling? What I do my best to give the numbers ahead of time. But I also use my body, because you may have a certain syncopation, right? So for example, it could be like say the song is 2 5 5 5 1 7 3 6. So if you notice, I did that one, right? So I forgot the syncopation. I missed the one, but you get it. So say if it's 2 5 1 1 4, I'll go with that, right? So, all right. So if I'm calling it out, I'll say 1 2, hit the 2 5 1 4, right? But that one's kind of quick. But I'll use they won't catch it the first time, but I'll still use my body so that they know where it falls, right? Because it happens so quickly. So yeah, it really depends on the arrangement and how fast things are moving. But I always call it ahead of time and use my body as a sign as to where it falls, so they're clear. Because oh my gosh, I've seen so many horror stories where like he's calling the MD's calling out the 2, but it's like, oh wait, but where does it land? Right? They're not psychic, right? So it's almost like you have to be overly intentional so that it limits the possibility of a train wreck type of thing. That's just how I look at it. Some people don't look at it that way, but honestly, it saves lives. So yeah, hopefully that answered the question.
Thank you for that.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, man. No problem.
Awesome.
Yes,
awesome.
sir.
Anyone else, either online or in person? I think we have one in person here.
Yes, sir.
So I notice the draw bars, total, like it's crazy though. Like my eyes are open. So you have your first and your third, and then you have your third and your fourth, and I notice you do third, fourth, and the last white. What's the most appropriate setting? Because I noticed when you were soloing, you started playing on the top set, and you started playing in the mid section of the lower set.
Yeah.
What's the most appropriate setting to keep that balance? Because you're playing top, you're playing the second, and you're using your pedals. What's the most appropriate setting to keep that like a padded chorded section?
If you're soloing and padding?
And padding, yeah.
So padding, for the most part, it starts with step 1, right? However, if I'm soloing, I need to move that octave down. So what I'll do is I'll go 2 whites instead. What happens is, because my chord ends up being over here, I may go down, and right here, this happens. So if I do now, if I use the 2 whites, it gives me more space, right? But now again, if I do go up here, I know definitely I'm gonna pass here, right? So if I do that, I mean, I could make it work, but again, why am I gonna overwork myself, right? So, right? So again, if I do this instead, if you notice, there's no friction whatsoever, so I have all this space. Because I'm not really going to go past this C here too much, so I have all this, and my left hand's right here, right? So that's kind of approach it. So, so that will be my bottom. But padding or soloing, it depends, because you can approach it different ways. I can approach it where I have all the browns out, and I'll just use maybe the white, or you can use the or you can use that. It's all about preference, right? But now, if we were to go beyond that now, which I should have touched on earlier, percussion. So the percussion only works on the B preset, right? Right. So now when you add your drawbars in, that's what it sounds like, right? So let's break it down. So of course it has to be on. So you have the option of either having the natural sound without the I had to put it on without the percussion. So if you notice the volume of the actual chords themselves decrease, right? Right. So when this is pushed up, it's on normal. When it's pushed down, it's on soft, right? So it depends on how much attack. Because what happens is, the less you have of that layer, the more percussive it is, right? So, right? I usually put it on normal, actually. All right. So then. Right? So you have that option. You also have how long it sustains and how long it doesn't sustain. So for example, let me turn it off. Right? That one's much longer, right? So this is fast, and then that's slow. So you have more of it being present, right? Then you have two options. Let me put on that one. So I find that second actually stays in the key, but so you have the first one that's called second, and then the next one's called third. Second it stays in the key that you're actually holding, but third gives you a different sound. So what I'll do is I'll pull it out and play the difference. So one's a little bit more. I would say third is more in your face. Second's a little bit more laid back, right? So I'll play both. Right, and that was third. Sorry. Right. So it depends. Again, it's all about preference, but that's pretty much how that works. If you want to have your soloing more so accented now, right? So I'll use the same settings. So I'll use the one without. Right? Now let's use the one with. All right. Right? So again, it's all about preference, right? So whether or not you want the actual foundation of your chords, the sound, to ring out more, or if you want your the actual sound itself to sustain long, or to sustain shorter. Sorry, right? And then you have, right? So so that's pretty much it. Cool. All right. Cool.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We're getting close to the end. Any other questions here? Yep.
Yeah, I was wondering could you give us like a level 1 to 4 of like shout music, like if you were to go from like a simple a little bit more complicated, a little bit more complicated, and then kind of give us an idea of how you would incorporate, like the guy was saying, the number system, like how you'd be like if you're calling out, okay, you're gonna go 2 or 5 or whatever, how that would all fit.
Wow.
I don't know if that's too much, but it'll be really helpful.
Okay, actually, let me break it down first. So what I'll do is we'll do this. What you can do is play. We're in the key of C sharp. So what we can do is play a B major 7. Sorry, and then you'll move between that and the B major 7 flat 5 over 1. So we're in C sharp. So for example, you'll start with the B major 7 flat 5 first. All right. So what we do is we walk up. Okay. We start with the 1, 3, 4. There we go. 1, 3, 4, flat 5, 5, 6, flat 7, 7, 1. So what's going to happen is you'll only switch on the 1 and the 5. So you're going to start with your B major 7. So I'll do it slow. Actually, let me do it slower. Right, but if you do it in time, right? All right, so. So then, of course, you have now the famous or infamous walkout. So you can do is you can play a C sharp major first inversion over 3. Then you're gonna play a F sharp major root position over 4. And then what you can do is play a E diminished 7. So you got E, G, B flat, C sharp over flat 5. And you can play again that C sharp major first inversion over 1. Right? And then walking up now, what you can do is use a similar chord that you play on the 1, but you're gonna walk it down 4. So that by the time we get to the 6, you walk that up, right? So let's go back down. C major, F sharp major, E diminished 7. Then you got C major again, and then you're gonna go to your A flat major 7 flat 5 over 6. Then you're gonna play your A major 7 flat 5 over flat 7, and then you're gonna play your B flat major 7 flat 5 over over flat 7. Sorry, A major 7 flat 5 over flat 7. Sorry, and then a B flat major 7 flat 5 over 7, and then back to your B major 7 flat 5 over 1. So in its entirety. Sorry, you're gonna play sorry. What am I doing? All right. So in actuality, so stop. Whoop. All right. So walk up again. So walk up. So right here. Sorry. So I'm so used to playing it spread out. So cool. So now the next level. Okay. But again, it varies also based on whether or not you have a bass player, right? Because then obviously, if I'm playing without a bass player, what I can do is spread that out. Actually, let me break that down. Actually, so instead of just playing that in my right hand by itself, what I can do is spread it out. So what I'll do is I'll position my right hand. I'll put a 1 on top, C sharp, right? And what I'll do is I'll spread out the chord, so I'll still keep that E flat there. I'll keep that B flat there. But what I'll do is in my left hand, I'll double up on that F, right? All right. So in actuality, all right. If you wanted to, you could play the C sharp on the first chord instead. So it's like you're going C sharp, F sharp, C sharp, F sharp. So. Right. Then now when I walk it up now, you can probably double up. Yeah, you can double up. And then, or you can approach it in a way where you still play the chords that we did earlier in our right hand, but you can now add tritones. All right, so we're starting on the 3. All right, so our tritone on the 3 will be E flat, A flat, and then we walk it up. So that's E and then B flat, and then we can play a 3 notes for the diminish, or you can play the full just to make it sound fuller. All right, and then you can play now double up on the C sharp. And what happens is if I'm walking up there now and I'm spreading it out from the on the 6 going up to the 1, instead of me playing this, what I'll do is I'll play the 6 on my pinky in my right hand. So I'll spread it out. So I'll play that. It's almost like I'm playing a G minor. So B flat, G, D. And what I can do is now play tritones on the 6, which is your D and your F. D and your A flat, sorry. Right? So again, that's B flat, G, D, A flat, D. Right? And I just walk it up. Right? So we got what A minor there, A flat minor with a tritone, A, E flat. Walk it up again. Right, opposed to you just playing. Right, so I'll slow down. Back to your first chord. All right. So now we'll go maybe levels 1 to 4, just for time's sake. It varies, especially when you're driving. It's like it depends. It's a part of like what your preference is, right? So you could be like okay. Sorry, I forgot which one is my normal one. I apologize. Here we go. I'm not gonna use that because it's not the right one. All right, so you know what? I'll do this. Sorry. Oh my gosh. I don't play sharp music like I used to, so a little bit rusty. But yeah, so that's pretty much the gist of it. So now, I'll add that bass line back in there. So There's so many different ways you can approach this, but it depends on what you like. So right there, what I'm doing is I'm bouncing off of like pretty much that C sharp major, but I'm trilling to the 3. Right? So right? So I'm playing that unresolved chord, the B major 7 flat 5, but I'm spreading it out. But starting with that, sorry. Right? So if you notice there, we instead of doing a walk up from the 3, we just did it from the 5. But again, it's like it depends because I can approach it different ways. So all I'm playing there is like it's like I'm playing an E, but I'm adding a C sharp to it. Then I'm playing a E flat minor, and then a C sharp minor, and just repeating that. And if you notice on the 5, I just play the same type of chord that I play on the 6 on the 5. So again, you have like a F sharp major 7 flat 5. All you're doing is now using that to walk to the 6. So, right? Right? And if you want to get a bit more rhythmic, use the same chords. Again, that E major with the C sharp in there. E flat minor. And then a C sharp minor. Okay? So yeah, there's like so many different ways. But when you really break it down, shout music is not complicated. It's just fast. That's all. Right? But the chord, you don't need a lot to play it. Like I could literally just play this. Not bad. Great. If you're playing organ, you just hold it out. And you walk up in the 5. I did there. It's almost like I'm playing a C sharp. Call it a F sharp, and then I'm playing like call it like a E major, but I'm just taking out the middle, right? Right, but what helps is playing the C sharp on top, right? So go the other way. And then I promise you, everybody can be like, woo! If you hold that, I promise you, they'll be like, because again, it's your choice of notes and again, having those drawbars out, but also adding that vibrato to it, because it just screams, right? So, make it scream. That's without. Ah. So again, it's not complicated. Not to say that you were thinking it's complicated, but shout music is so easy. It's just fast. You just have to master keeping up with the tempo. That's all it is. But honestly, you could literally just play 1 1 sorry 1 1 4 1 1 1 4 1 1 1 4 1. You could, as long as you have a solid bass player or a solid left hand. I mean that exactly is not exactly easy either, because it takes, again, being able to separate your brain to be able to do that, and then different timing with your left hand, right? But that's pretty much the gist of it, to be honest.
Beautiful, beautiful. I hope this is helping. I hope that somebody's getting something. Yeah, man, G, thank you.
No problem.
I just want to see if there's any other questions. If not, I think G, you'll kind of play us out. Oh yeah, all right.
How do you make sure you don't step on the bass player's toes? That is huge. Because if you have a bass player and you have to know when you're playing the bass at certain times, how do you avoid not stepping on the bass player's toes in any given situation? So
I mean, if he's there and you trust him, then you just have to make a conscious effort. But I think organists use it as a reinforcement, just in case the bass player is not doing what they're supposed to do. Because it happens. Because, like, I know, like, I grew up in it where, like, say Cordell Hay or certain other organists, even Daniel Counts would do it too, where, like, say, I'm thinking as if I'm a bass player, and if I notice that the bass player's not doing what he's supposed to be doing, right? So you get one of those. So you don't want to get the look, right? So bass players, do what you're supposed to do, okay? But yeah, you just have to make a conscious effort that, or to remind yourself that you have a bass player. So don't get in his way, all right? Unless, again, he's not playing what he's supposed to, then, of course, you kind of step in to reinforce and remind him, okay, this is where you're supposed to be. But you just have to make a conscious effort, everything. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Any other question before G plays us out? I think you had something prepared, G. But just real quick, I know we're on our way out here. Something traditional. What you played just kind of got me there. Something traditional that's just, you hear it and you just think organ.
Let's see.
Incredible, man. Let's give it up one more time, man.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Sounding awesome. Awesome. So thank you all for coming. Thank you all for taking part in this. I really hope that somebody found this helpful. Just by a raising of hand, just want to see. All right, yeah, we got everybody in the room. That's awesome, and I'm sure online as well. So thank you so much for being a part of this event. Germaine, thank you. Of course, Maestro, just for coming in and spending some time with us. So I know you had something to play us out with. And yeah, if anyone has any other questions, please feel free to hang out hang around. We do have a short survey. We'll put it up at the front for y'all. That will really be a huge part, really helpful in terms of helping us to get more programs like this. Anyone want to see more events like this happen? All right, there we go. So we really appreciate each and every one of you. So thank you. And yeah, looking forward to everything that's ahead. So Germaine, we'll turn it over to you, sir. Thank you.
All right, so the song I'm about to play out for the end here, it's a song that I wrote, released back last year. Oh, actually 2 years ago. Song I wrote, choir song called "Faithful." So if you haven't checked it out, check it out on all digital platforms, Google Play, Spotify, iTunes Music. It's out there. All right. I also got another song out there called "Jesus Is the World to Me." So if you want to listen to some great choir music, you won't be disappointed. All right, let's try some up. Can you turn me up over here? Turn me up out here. The track.